Not a coincidence is a major factor in this community, and people don't even know it. Goofy motherfuckers.
Peace, y'all. What's going on out there? Peace to everybody that pulled up. How everybody doing tonight? Hope everybody doing well. I'm doing pretty good. All right, so what I wanted to get into tonight was Aboriginal power, Sister Bethy. The man had a whole world. My bad, I was reading the chat. But Aboriginal power and Sister Bethy, they be making some crazy claims. They be asking some silly questions. And I got like a little 8-minute video from one of their shows the other day. And I just wanted to go over, some information, see if we can correct a little bit, correct some of the stuff they be saying. How I sound out there? Y'all sound all right? But yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Put this on full screen. Vino, you always saying never about something, but you don't be telling the truth, man. You definitely don't be telling the truth. And we seen that Sean played that debate earlier. It was worse than I thought it was. Well, let me say this, not as I thought it was. It was worse than I remember it being. It's way worse than I remember it being. But let's get into some of this.
So, do we have a story of Africans being brought to United States, okay, in the 1700s? Shiploads of Africans coming.
So let's go back.
So, do we have a story of Africans being brought to United States, okay, in the 1700s? Shiploads of Africans coming here in the.
My bad, y'all. Give me 1 second. My bad, y'all. Hold on. My bad. I'm back. So, do we have give her her phone? Where is it? Because I can't get up. You know that it's down there on the plug. I think. Yeah, my bad, y'all. So do we have stories of Africans being brought to the Americas? Yeah, we do. We definitely do. Right. Hold on, let me show y'all something real quick. So we definitely do, right? We got people who told their own story, right? Like a narrative. A narrative of the life and ventures and adventures of Venture, a native of Africa, but resident above 60 years in the United States of America. Related by who? By himself. First printed in 1798, reprinted in 1825 or 35. Published by a descendant of Venture. Right? So this is his story, not nobody else's story. So let's read a little bit of it. This is chapter 1. I was born in Dunkadara in Guinea about the year 1729. My father's name was Sagam Furo, prince of the tribe of Dunkadora. My father had 3 wives. Polygamy was not uncommon in that country, especially among the rich, as every man was allowed to keep as many wives as he could maintain. By his first wife, he had 3 children. The eldest of them was myself, named by my father, Brotier. All right, so this is his story. He talks about being brought to the Americas, right? And you can get this book. I put all the everything I'm going to show. Everything I'm going to show, I put in the sources, listed the sources in the description of the show. Containing an account of his life from the time of his leaving Africa to that of his becoming free. After all the business was ended on the coast of Africa, the ship sailed from thence to Barbados. Remember, they're leaving Africa. He went to Barbados. After an ordinary passage, except great mortality by the smallpox, which broke out on board, we arrived at the island of Barbados. But when we reached it, there were found out of the 260 that sailed from Africa, not more than 200 alive. So they asked, do we have accounts of shiploads of Africans being brought to the Americas? Right? So here is one written about Venture Smith, told by him, and later published by his descendants also. Right? He said, Vino, come on, man. An abolition wrote this. He didn't. So here we go in an account of, he said 260 sailed from Africa. By the time they get to Americas, barely 200 are left. Right? We got his actual headstone. Sacred to the memory of Venture Smith, an African, though the son of a king, he was kidnapped and sold as a slave, but by his industry, he acquired money to purchase his freedom. Died spring 17. I can't read that, but 1805. Oh, spring 19. Oh, died September 19, 1805. In 77 years of his age. So he lived to be 77. So this is Venture Smith's headstone, right? We know he's a real person, right? Here go his descendants, right? These are the people that continue to remember him. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't be here, right? Nice family. But you got people like Vino who will just deny. Kidnapped by who? Hey, guess what, Vino? I put the link of the book in the description. You can go and click the link of the book and go read it yourself. How about that? The descendants of Venture Smith gathered at his grave site in East Haddam, Connecticut during the town's 2019 Venture Smith Day. So the town has a day named after this man. Has a day named after this man. So let's go back. Let's see what else they want to add.
The 1700s.
What about even in the early 1800s before they banned the legal importation of Africans in 1808? So what about from 1800s to 1808?
Hello.
There's no reliable document.
So now they want to know, do we have a story of someone being taken in between 1800 and 1808? I don't know why that is important, but we do. We got stories from all over about people being taken. Who do we have here? Omar Ibn Said, right? Omar Ibn Said, born 1770 to 1864, was a Fula Muslim scholar from Futo Torah in West Africa, present-day Senegal, who was enslaved and transported to the United States in when? 1807. During the transatlantic slave trade, remaining enslaved for the remainder of his life, he wrote a series of Arabic language works on history and theology, including a short autobiography. Again, this is people telling their own story. Like I try to tell people, you know, they always trying to say we telling the white man's story and we got this from the white man. No, we could literally tell our own story from our own people's mouths. Because they wrote their own stories. We've been telling our stories the whole way through. He talking about this is a East Indian. Like, this guy is the most ignorant person I ever met. Vino, you can't be this ignorant. You can't be this ignorant, right? You don't write Indian, so how do you expect somebody to write African when you don't write Indian? Right? He's Muslim, so he wrote in Arabic, right? So this is part of the autobiography of Omar Ibn Said, slave in North Carolina, 1831. Right? So let's go down here. What's the part I wanted to read? Not this part. All right. Damn, I lost the part. My bad, y'all. Oh, here it go, right here. From Omar to Sheik the Hunter. Right? You asked me to write my life. I'm not able to do this because I have much forgotten my own, as well as the Arabic language. Neither can I write very grammatically accordingly to the true idiom. And so, my brother, I beg you in God's name not to blame me, for I am a man of weak eyes and of weak body. My name is Omar Ibn Said. My birthplace was Foot Tor, one of the fullest states of that time, now part of French Senegal. Right? He says, between two rivers, I sought knowledge under the instruction of Sheikh called Muhammad C. My own brother and Sheikh Solomon Kimba and Sheikh Gabriel Abdal. I continued my studies 25 years and then returned home when I remained 6 years. Then there came to our place a large army who killed many men and took me and brought me to the great sea and sold me into the hands of the Christians, who bound me and sent me on board a great ship, and we sailed upon the great sea a month and a half. When we came to a place called Charleston in the Christian language, there they sold me to a small, weak, and wicked man called Johnson, a complete infidel who had no fear of God at all. Now I am a small man and unable to do hard work, so I fled from one hand of Johnson, and after a month came to a place called Fayetteville. You're talking about Fayetteville, right? So again, if you want to read more of this, you can go click the link in the description. But again, we have our own people telling our own story.
No primary sources.
And if it is not a coincidence, hit the link, nigga.
He said no primary source. I just gave two primary sources, first eyewitness accounts of this slave trade, of going through it, living it, that covered the 1700s and the 1800s.
No primary sources.
And if it is not a coincidence, hit the link, nigga. Live debate show, nigga.
Word. Come on, not a coincidence. Come on, doodoo butt.
Come on, not a coinky dink.
Not a coincidence. Hey.
And I didn't jump on the panel because it's just not, at this point in time, it's just not even worth it entertaining them. I'm going to jump on there. And they just going to interrupt. They're not going to learn nothing. It's just a waste of time. Right? When I know I could just jump on my channel and just review the dumb shit they be talking about. So that's what we're doing right now.
Doodoo butt.
My Yemen brother.
So here's some more writings from Omar. I forgot to show y'all. Of the life of Omar bin Said, called Moro, a fuller slave in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Remember, he said he got brought to Fayetteville. The life of Omar ibn Said, called Moro, a Fula. Remember, this is an ethnic group in Africa from Senegal. A Fula slave in Fayetteville, North Carolina, owned by Governor Owen, written by himself. By who? Himself. Himself. This is important, right? They love to say that we can only tell this story because the white man told us this story. That is not true. We got thousands of people, black people, who told this story over and over and over because they lived it. They went through it. Right? And the rest of it is written in Arabic. But you can go and get that source also. So let's see what else they talking about.
Hey, time out. He might be gone. Who else we got up in here with?
So when they ban BAP, are you sure that when they ban when they ban slavery in 1808 or whatever, trick question, did that order come from an African? Did it come from an American Indian? Or did it come from a colonial?
I think
so. It was something else I wanted to add before I got into a second question, right? They want documents of the slave trade, right? And again, we got plenty of documents. Plenty. This is from the South Carolina Gazette, September 3rd, 1753, right? So what I'm going to do here is show you the ads, and then I'm going to show you who these people got sold to, right? Because we could track that down. On Wednesday next, the 5th of September, will be sold an exceedingly fine cargo of 350 healthy Negroes, not white people, healthy Negroes, just imported in the ship Emperor. So remember, they always talking about like, oh, a newspaper clipping isn't a primary source. Yes, it is if it gives you the answers that you're looking for. So we got the name of the ship, which is the ship Emperor. We got the captain of the ship, Charles Gwynn. We got where they came from. It says directly from Angola. And Austin and Lawrence is the people who sold the ship. So these people would bring the ships to America, go to the port, and then find somebody to sell them for them. And who they did was Austin and Lawrence. They was big shippers. I mean, slavers selling slaves. So they call themselves like this guy is ridiculous. But so again, so here we on Wednesday next, right? The ship Emperor, the captain is Charles, and they came from Angola. So let's go here. And that is on page 17 of the account book. So we go to page 17, right? We know, pay attention. This is how you cross-reference things, right? Because we want to see it actually happening. We want to find the sources for these things actually happening, right? Let me see if y'all can see this. Yeah, y'all can see this. So it says, account of sale number 134. Charges and neat proceed. 327 new Negro slaves imported of the ship Emperor. Again, we got the same ship Emperor. Charles Gwynn, the commander, from Angola, on the account of the owners of said ship. So these guys are selling them. Austin Lawrence and Henry Lawrence and Austin Charles, excuse me. They're selling these Negroes for the captain Charles Gwynn when they get to Charleston, right? And this is in 1753, right? So we got purchasers, men, women, boys, girls, forms of payment, right? We can see this person bought one girl. This person bought three men and one girl. This guy Thomas bought one woman. Frederick bought three men, two women. Samuel bought a man and a boy, and it just goes on and on and on. Right? In all, they sold 36 men, 18 women, 35 boys, 16 girls. Right? That was just on this account. And here go more of them. Remember, this the owners of the Emperor. Hold on, y'all. Give me 1 second. My bad, y'all. I'm back. So again, we see we had to add to sell them, and then we got the account book and see where they went to, who bought them, and this is in Charleston, South Carolina. There go more of them. Remember, by the time they get there, there's 327 of them, and on this side they sold what? It looked like 64 men, 37 women, 57 girls. No, 57 boys, 38 girls. All right, let's go back to the ad. Also on the same day as above. So look, they selling them all on the same day. As above will be sold a cargo of exceedingly healthy slaves just imported in the Brigade Orel. Now we got the name of the ship is the Orel. Captain is Bennett, directly from the River Gambia. Directly from the River Gambia. Again, this is what you call, thank you. This is what you call primary sources. So again, directly from the River Gambia. My bad, y'all. I got a lot going on in the crib, so I gotta pause and unpause. And this is on page 21 in the account book. So let's go to page 21 in the account book. Vino, I hope you're paying attention. Right? I know some of y'all have seen this before. Look, account sale number 133 charges the neat proceeds of 82 new Negro slaves received, remember the ship, received of the Orel Brigade, James Bennett, the commander, from where? Gambia. An account of Majesty Williams Wiley, owners of said brigade, merchant in Liverpool. And it's the same thing. We got Nathaniel. He bought one woman. We got William Nelson. It looked like he bought two men. Jane bought one man. And it just goes on and on and on. And it just goes on and on and on. Again, if you want this account book, it's listed in the description of the video. So let's go back to the these abos, these Pretendians, and see what they talking about.
All right.
Now, let's not forget all the states that were states at that time. Supposedly the majority.
My bad, y'all. I never even switched the screen, but let's listen to this.
A little bit.
There you go.
The Act of 1808. So let's pull it up. All right.
Now, let's not forget all the states that were states at that time. Supposedly the majority of the
East Coast. No,
right.
because at 1808, they hadn't even established St. Louis, I don't think, or anywhere westwards.
See? That's why they are messed up.
Look, the Act of this is the Act of hold on.
We can't see it.
Oh, you can't? Damn.
You got the you got our profiles in front of it.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
All right. The Act of Prohibiting Importation of Slaves. It was signed into law by the President Thomas Jefferson on March 2nd, 1807. It took effect on January the 1st, 1808. This legislation made it illegal to import slaves into the United States from abroad, reflecting a growing movement against the transatlantic slave trade. The act was the first federal law to restrict the importation of slaves, as the United States Constitution had allowed the international slave trade to continue until 1808. Okay, so it was a federal law going against the constitutional law that banned it.
Boom. federal law, supreme law of the land. You could not bring no slaves over here.
So how the hell do you got Africans coming over here in the Clotilda story? You remember, you know what the Clotilda story is.
Look, their whole thing is they're trying to say now, all right, we have a point where the United States banned slavery, well, importing of slaves, the importation of slaves in 1808. And so they're like, oh, so how the hell was all this other shit happening? So let's go over a couple things, right? All right, he read what it was, but so this is this is when Congress passed it, right? March 2nd, 1807, an act to prohibit the importation of slaves into any part or place within the jurisdiction of the United States from and after the first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1808. Right? Being enacted the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled. So she asked, was it Indians that passed this law? Was it a white man? Was it black man? She don't know what the hell. Like, why would Indians pass this law when they ain't had nothing to do with the government of the United States? Like, they're just so off. You can't even. I ain't even going to attempt to try to explain that part, right? Because that's just ridiculous. But again, you can go look this law up, right? What's the part I wanted to read to? Any person reside within the jurisdiction of the same shall and after for the first day of January 1808 take on board, receive or transport. You can't transport from any of the coasts or kingdoms of Africa. So why would they even have a law like this if it wasn't happening? Look, it says coasts or kingdoms of Africa or from any other foreign kingdom, place, or country, any Negro, mulatto, or person of color in any ship or vessel for the purpose of selling them in any port or place within the jurisdiction of the United States as slaves. Right? So we see Congress passing this. So we can't act like this thing just didn't happen. And we even had, again, black people writing about it. Right? We're going to talk about it through our eyes, not nobody else, our eyes. Right? An oration of the abolition of the slave trade delivered in the Aboriginal church. I mean, my bad, y'all. The African church in the city of New York, January 1st, 1808, by Peter Williams Jr., a descendant of Africa. Right? Peter Williams Jr. was born in America, but he knows he's a descendant of Africa. Right? There was never a time when black people didn't know that they was African descendants. I don't know where these abos come from, where these Pretendians come from, but they're just crazy. So I want to read one page of what he was talking about. Come on, girl. Hey. All right. So this is from Peter Williams Jr. Fathers, brethren, and fellow citizens, at this auspicious moment, I facilitate you on the abolition of the slave trade, this inhumane branch of commerce, which for some centuries past has been carried on to a considerable extent, is by the singular interposition of divine providence this day extinguished. An event so important, so pregnant with happy consequences, must be extremely consonant to every philanthropic heart. But what does Peter Williams say next? but to us Africans and descendants of Africans. Remember, this is in 1808. They know who they are. They know exactly who they are. This period is deeply interesting. We have sensibly felt the sad effects of this abominable traffic. Who felt the effects of the traffic? The black people. It has made, if not ourselves, our forefathers and kingsmen, its unhappy victims, and pronounced on them and their posterity the sentence of perpetual slavery. The sentence of perpetual slavery. Right? There is no question. Right? So this is a celebration of the abolition of slave trade, right? So let's go to the newspaper. Right? This is from the Evening Post in New York, July 21st, 1808. The people of color are requested to attend a general meeting at the African schoolroom on Friday evening, June 22nd at 7 o'clock in order to make arrangements for celebrating the abolition of the slave trade. Right? Listen, there is no secret. This is what we doing. We got another event of celebration. Why would we be celebrating something that didn't happen? That just don't make no sense. That make no sense at all. Yo, I need y'all to like and share the video, y'all. If you ain't do that yet, take a moment, stop and do that. Right? So let's get to this next article. This is from the Vermont Gazette, January 4th, 1808. Right? At a numerous and respectable meeting of the Africans and their descendants. For some reason, right? These abos like to say, oh, nobody was even using that term African descent back then. They most definitely was. I showed you numerous times where they're using it in the 1700s. So the Africans and their descendants of the city of New York held the second day of December, 1807, at the African schoolroom, Cliff Street, for the purpose of taking into consideration the propriety of celebrating the day on which the act passed by Congress of the United States for the abolition of the slave trade takes effect. We got John Teesman. If you don't know who he is, go look him up. Peter Williams Jr. I just showed you something he wrote in 1808. Secretary, the following resolutions were adopted. That having been the unhappy victims of the trade, which has deprived us of our best and most valued enjoyments, and convinced as we are of the undeniable principle that all men are born free, we view the abolition of this traffic so abhorrent and in its nature to every just and tender sentiment with inexpressible satisfaction. Resolved unanimously that the day which terminates the slave trade in this country ought to be celebrated. Why would black people be celebrating if it never happened? Doesn't make any sense. Ought to be celebrated by us in particular with demonstrations of gratitude and thanksgiving. Resolved unanimously that the tribute of our earnest gratitude is due to those friends of humanity who have interested themselves in our favor, whose exertions through divine assistance have contributed in small degree to bring about this happy event. They're happy that this is happening. They're happy and celebrating that no more of their African brothers and sisters have to go through this trade. Where was I at? also through the government, which accordingly and so honor able cooperated with them in this cause and availed itself of the first particularly moment for arresting the progress of this great moral and political event. Political evil. Sorry. Resolved unanimously that committee of 12 persons be appointed for the purpose, the top at, for the purpose of making suitable, for the purpose of making suitable arrangements for carrying the foregoing resolutions into effect. Resolved unanimously that this committee consists of the following persons: Peter Williams, Isaac Fortune, Thomas Miller, Robert Sidney, Nicholas Smith, Thomas Sipkins, John Cheeseman, William Hamilton, William Brown, and Abraham Gordon. So for those of you that might know, some black history and know about the free blacks of that time, y'all know a lot of these names. But if not, I suggest that you go look up these names and see what these people were doing, because these are important people to your history. These are very important people to your history. They all did great things in the efforts to get us to where we at today. Right? John Cheeseman, chairman, Peter Williams Jr., secretary. All right, let's go back.
Right, sir, I do. I went and traced the imprint that the ship left on the ground. But the imprint of the Clotilda ship, which is a fucking joke.
Yeah, so look, let's get into that. 1808, they banned the illegal importation of slaves, right? So when you go to the Clotilda story, it's kind of weird, right? So
yep.
Hold on. Was this what I was supposed to go to? No. Hold on.
That the Louisiana Purchase, all this stuff don't make no sense.
So look, when you read into this, look, the Clotilda, often misspelled the Clotilda, was the last known U.S. slave ship to bring captives from Africa to the United States, arriving at Mobile Bay in autumn of 1859. This is literally 51 years after they banned African slaves or any slaves from coming over here. So how the fuck was they able to bring these people over here?
And I got another question. What about the islands, right?
Look, all they do is just beg the question: how was they able to do this? How was they able to do that? If it was illegal, how are they able to do this? Well, people break laws every single day. Every day, people break laws, right? So during this illegal traffic, there was one person who was convicted of illegally trafficking. So we know that the United States was complacent in this. They said, they make the laws, but this was just one of the laws that they didn't really go after. But we got Nathaniel Gordon. Right? This is from the New York Times, February 21st, 1862. So the case of Gordon. The facts and testimony assertions of the district attorney, past and present. Execution today. The case of Nathaniel Gordon, the slaver captain. I'm gonna zoom it in so y'all can read along. The case of Nathaniel Gordon, the slaver. Is of no ordinary interest, like many others who have violated the law of the nation. He was first brought before the bar of our courts by an administration in no way disposed to deal harshly with offenders of that class, and like them, he would have entirely freed himself from the mesh of the law had he not been met in the later stages of his legal difficulties by district attorney of a different stamp, whose appointment proceed from administrations which is popularly supposed to differ widely from that which preceded it. The facts that Gordon is a first slaver whose conviction during 40 years has been secured, and that he alone of all the wicked men who have dealt in the odious trade seems likely to meet the deserved end and the universal public feeling manifested throughout the country in the fate of the unhappy men induce us to believe that the following resume of the case will be read with interest. So long ago as October 60, Gordon was before the United States Court. Judge Nelson presiding on the charges of piracy and voluntarily serving on the board a slaver. Mr. Buchanan was the president of the United States, and Mr. Roosevelt was a district attorney. The former district attorney conducted the case before the court in very singular manner and stated explicitly that if they are tried and found not guilty, which is highly probable of piracy, or if they are found guilty, come on, girl, you see me over here on the computer. Why are you doing this? Hold on one second, y'all. Calm your ass down. Found guilty of privacy, or if they are found guilty, such an outside pressure will be brought to bear upon the president as would compel him to pardon him. In either case, he would go scot-free. Quote. He also stated that the parties, Warren and Hall, who as mates were tried with Gordon, could give very important information to the government as to the parties who fitted these vessels for the coast of Africa. Those and other kindred statements so astounded the community that all confidence in the law against such offense was lost. And the times of the following day, administration and district attorney, the following rebuke. So then this goes into the punishment, right? I'm not going to read all of it, but he was eventually hung. He was convicted and hung, Nathaniel Gordon, for taking a ship to Africa and bringing back slaves, and was caught. Now, if you read his story, he was actually almost caught a couple times, right? He was just like addicted to doing it and getting away. But we also have another story. This is the Amistad, right? We have another story of them trying to catch these illegal slave ships, right? And this article is the New York Daily Herald, October 4th, 1839. Yeah, this is from 1839. Do I even want to read this? And this picture is, like again, we have these primary sources. All right. The Africans of the Amistad scenes in Hartford prison, African civilization, throwing somersaults, abolition sympathy. Right. So this shit is well documented. The illegal slave trade, right? Because the question was asked, well, if it was illegal, how do we get to the Clotilda? We get to it because that didn't stop them. That didn't stop them not 1 minute. Right? This is the Liberator, April 18th, 1845. And what this will show is how the people on the Amistad end up getting free. Right? So one of the material facts upon which the Supreme Court had decided that the Negroes of the Amistad were free and not slaves was that in the language of the island of Cuba, they was Bozales and not Ladinos. The Bozales what used to be called a new Negro, fresh from Africa, and the ignorant of the language and manners of the country into which has been transmitted. The Negroes of the Amistad had been landed at the Havana in June 1839 from a Portuguese slaver in violation of the laws and treaties of Spain. It is perhaps not known to all the members of the House that the treaties of Spain and the laws of the island of Cuba against the slave trade are as bitter and biting in words as our own statute. As the 10th article of the where am I? 10th article of the treaty, the Ghent, the 8th article of the Ashburton Treaty, or the messages of Vice President Tyler. But while this has been the state of national obligation of Spain and of written law of Cuba, the unwritten law or custom has been to import every year thousands upon thousands of African Negroes. They never stop. They never stop, not one bit. Let's go back to the video.
Unless they really weren't slaves, they were just illegally getting illegal immigrants over here for money, like a coyote do for Mexicans. You know, like a coyote is a dude who goes to Mexico, find people that want to come over here, find a way for them to come over here illegally, and charge them.
Yeah. This shit, the story don't make no sense if they use their common sense. So because people like Jabari and all these other plan doodles can't make sense of the slave trade story, they can't. They know that's debunked. So they run to DNA stories, which is just unfucking believable.
Yeah, they run a lot of these pseudo ass stories, man.
A DNA story, because they can't debunk what you just read.
And see, what's crazy is when you read in this Clotilda story, which we're gonna go to, look. Let's read. We're gonna read and see how we get this story. So let's go. Given all this fake ass history, talking about a man who came off a boat. Now look, we're gonna go to the references and the sources. Look who one of the main people is that's mentioning this. 2008, Zora Hill Hurgis with the Barcoon published after lacking sense. This is where this testimony go. But this is a plagiarized story. She was up under Franz Boas. You don't know that? Let's go and look up her history. Look, Zora Hill Hurchison went to college. Let's go to her history. Let's go to her history. Look, she was a author. She wrote a published literal anthropology and folklore of North Florida called Mules of Men. That was orchestrated by Franz Boas. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but when you read into the cultural history of this was all orchestrated by Franz Boas. Mules of Men. Hold on, let me see if we can find the leader sending them out. Franz Boas.
So I don't understand, right? What was the point of bringing up Clotilda? Right, yeah, they said it's been debunked. I like to mention that too. They said it's been debunked, and the only thing we can go to is DNA. How has it been debunked? Who's debunked it? Like who has debunked it? I still haven't seen that yet. We got primaries upon primaries upon primaries. Like nobody with any common sense even talks like that. Babe, you keep leaving the door open. Like nobody even talks like this. These are like they're like white people in blackface at this point. But they try to go to the story from Zora Neale Hurston about the Muse of Men, which has nothing to do with the Clotilda. Has nothing to do with the Clotilda at all. So why even bring that up? Right? But here we got an article. This is from 1860, right? This is Montgomery Weekly Post, Wednesday, July 18th, 1860. Arrival of a slaver at Mobile. July 12th, the schooner Clotilda with 124 Africans on board arrived in the bay today. A steamboat immediately took the Negroes up the river. So in 1860, they're already talking about the Clotilda. It didn't take somebody in the 1900s to be talking about Clotilda. They were talking about the Clotilda at the time the Clotilda was happening. This is nothing new. This is another article from the Wisconsin State Journal, July 19th, 1860. Suppression of the slave trade, exclamation point. On the 9th day of July, the schooner Clotilda, with 120 Africans on board, arrived in broad daylight in Mobile Bay, and a steamboat immediately took them up the river. Slavers are constantly leaving the harbor of New York for the African coast and landing their cargoes in the southern states. But United States Marshals have no eyes for such, I don't even know what that word is, peccadillos. But let a poor nigger attempt to cut sticks from bondage and see how promptly they will be on the track, right? So what they're saying is, right, they turn a blind eye to this illegal slave trade, but let a black person run away and everybody's going to be looking for him, trying to chase him down. Everybody's going to be trying to chase him down. But again, we got contemporary primary sources of this shit happening. Like, this is nothing new. It wasn't new when Zora talked about it, because it's in the newspaper. These newspapers are going across the whole country. So how is it like saying like the story just gets created with these people? No, these people went and interviewed them. But again, he brought up Muse of Men when, look, it says right here, Hurston travels to New Orleans. Well, guess what? The Clotilda, the people of the Clotilda, Cujo Lewis, he's not in New Orleans. That's not even what the story is about, Muse of Men. My bad, y'all. I ain't even share the tab. I'm over here eating.
Diversity, ill contempt. Look right here. Amongst the scientific community, and the reception of the lukewarm Hurston unique narrative devices created at work that the contemporary scientific establishments judge as a childlike and ill-advised. Franz Boas, her academic mentor, see, Franz Boas, Columbia University.
I'm done.
Come on, man. Do I gotta break down these stories?
I'm fucking done.
Do I gotta keep showing you how the shit is all around? Up. And when you go into the real history of where this story come from, she.
Oh, my bad. Good looking, Ryan. I'm muted. You know, I ain't been going live in a while, so I'll fuck up a little bit. My bad, y'all. But he's going over Franz Boas being her academic mentor. What does that prove? What does that prove? She didn't create the story of Clotilda. So, and they're talking about Muse of Men, which don't have nothing to do with Clotilda. He's just trying to make he's trying to create a deflection. He's acting like he's saying stuff, and Sister Betty is agreeing with him, but they ain't saying nothing. They really just talking about nothing right now.
Plagiarized this book. She plagiarized this whole story from a white girl named Emily Roche.
And that's another thing they love saying. Oh, she plagiarized the story. So what? What does that mean? And I ain't saying so what that she plagiarized. I'm saying, so what are you saying by that? Does that mean it's made up? Because the damn sure don't mean it's made up. Because they both went and interview Cujo. So how does it make it made up? What actually happened was right? So this is Emma Langdon Roach, right? What she do? She visits to nearby Africa town. Prompted Roach to interview the residents, most of whom were freedmen. Here, Roach met Cujo Kazulo Lewis, one of the founders of Africa Town. He was born in Africa, had been taken captive and sold into slavery and transported to Alabama aboard the Clotilda, the last known illegal Atlantic slaver to bring slaves to the United States. Right? Roach wrote and published a 2-volume work known as Historical Sketches of the South. It includes Roach's original drawings and photographs of the residents. So on the right, you can see a picture she drew of Cujo. The book features Roach discussions of the development of slavery in the United States from the colonial period. It also features material from her interviews with Cujo. So the reason that they're saying that Zora plagiarized is because she took some things from her interview and didn't give her credit for it. Them trying to say that she plagiarized isn't her making it up. It's just she didn't give her credit, which is wrong in the academic world, but it doesn't make it fake. Again, Emma interviewed Cujo. Zora interviewed him. And that's where the story comes from. Right? Where we at? Boom, 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 boom. Damn, I had this. Little part I want to go to. Did I pass it? Oh, here we go. In 1927, Hurston traveled to the Deep South to collect African American folktales. She also interviewed Cujo Lewis, again, of Africatown, Alabama, who was the last known survivor of the enslaved Africans carried aboard Clotilda, an illegal slave ship that entered into the United States in 1860. And thus the last known person to have been transported in the transatlantic slave trade. The next year, she published the article, Cujo's Own Story of the Last African Slaver, 1928. Right? According to her biography, Robert E. Hemingway, this piece largely plagiarized the work of Emma Langdon Roach, an Alabama writer who wrote about Lewis in a 1914 book. Hurston did add new information about daily life in Lewis' home village of Bonte. Right? So remember, this is in 1927. She let out. She published the article in 1928. So she went to interview him in 1927, right? Okay, here. In 1928, Hurston returned to Alabama. So she went back with additional resources. She conducted more interviews with Lewis, took photographs of him and others in the community, and recorded the only known footage or film footage of him, an African who had been trafficked to the United States through the slave trade. Based on this material, she wrote a manuscript, Barracoon. So when it comes to Barracoon, there is no plagiarism. The plagiarism comes with the Cujo's Own Story of the Last African Survivor, right? Completing it in 1931, Hemingway described it as a highly dramatic, semi-fictional narrative intended for a popular reader. It has been described as testimonial text more in the style of other anthropological studies since the late 20th century. Right. And I have this book, the physical copy. I read it. It's actually a really good book. I suggest people, if you have it, if you don't have it out there, go get this book. Go get this book. This is a real good book. Vino, you need to go get this book. Right? So this book is based on interviews with Cujo. This isn't a made-up story. Right? So BAP trying to act like, oh, because she plagiarized him in some way, like that really matters. We're gonna go back to this book, but remember, it was said that the guy who did her biography, Robert E. Hemingway, he's the one that's making the claim for her plagiarism. So let's see what he's saying in the book about the plagiarism. And again, like I told you, it's about historical sketches of the Old South. Historical sketches of the Old South written by Emma Roche, published in New York by the Knickerbocker Press 13 years before Hurston's essay. This book was apparently available at the Mobile Historical Society. Despite her obvious use of it, Hurston nowhere acknowledges Roche as her source, and her plagiarism has remained undetected for almost half a century. So, if Roche would have just gave, if Emma would, Zora would have gave Roche as her source for some of the things she said, we wouldn't even be talking about plagiarism. She would just cited her source, and that was it. The linguist William Stewart first discovered it in 1972. What follows is the first public discussion of Stewart's discovery. Hurston had gone to Mobile in late July, and the interviews with Lewis was her last task for Woodson. Her description of how to get to Africa Town, now Plateau, Alabama, where Cujo lived, includes references to highways and bridges built after Roche's study was printed. So that's key. So that's proof that she went down there and interviewed him, because he talked about highways and bridges that was built after Roche already printed her work. So these are things that Roche did not put in her book, but Hurston did, which lets you know that she did go down there and interview him. Since her essay includes quotations from Cujo, never published before, it is fair to assume that she actually interviewed him. One must conclude, however, that Hurston found herself without sufficient original material for her article. Now they're talking about the article and not the book Barracoon. For whole portions of her narrative are from Roche's book, including almost verbatim the last 7 pages of her essay. The plagiarized passages are numerous of the classic varieties found in freshman term papers. There is outright copying with only the slightest of changes. Hurston's 3rd paragraph, for example, reads, so let's read it. Once on the African coast, there was little trouble in procuring a cargo of slaves, for it had long been a part of the traders' policy to instigate the tribes against each other, and in this manner keep the market stocked. News of the trade was often published in papers and excerpts from Mobile Register of November 9th, 1858 said, right? So compare this with the following passage from Historical Sketches of the Old South from chapter entitled Preparation for Clotilda's Voyage, page 73. Once arriving in the African coast, there was little trouble in procuring cargo of slaves, for it had long been a part of the traders' policy to instigate the trade against each other, and in this matter kept market stocked. News of the trade was often published in papers. The mayors and forces could have sought nothing more enlightened or to the purpose than an item published in the Mobile Register, November 9th, 1958. Right? So those are the type of things that they're saying that happened here, brother. Right? Which is, wrong. But doesn't make the story fake, not one bit. And this is what we need to realize. Right? Because, again, he told his story. And she went back in 1928. And this is where she gets to work for this book. Right? Again, this is a good book. Y'all need to go get it. But I did put the link for the book in the description, so let's see. Maybe we could read one page of this. Let's see what Cujo was talking about. It was Saturday when next I saw Cujo. He was gracious but not too cordial. He picked me peaches and tried to get rid of me quickly, but I hung on. Finally, he said, "Didn't I tell you not to come bother me on Saturday? I got to clean the church tomorrow, Sunday. But I came to help you, Casulo. You needn't talk if you don't want to. If you don't want to. I thank ye. You come help me. I want you. Take me in the car in the Mobile. I get me some turnips seed to plant in the garden." We hurriedly swept and dusted the church. Less than an hour later, the Chevrolet had borne us to Mobile and back. I left him at his gate with a brief goodbye and tackled him again on Monday. He was very warm this day. He glimmered and glinted with light. I must first tell him about the nice white lady in New York who was interested in him. I want you to write her a letter in the New York. Tell Cujo say 1,000 times much obliged. I glad she sent you Asti with me, what Cujo do all the time. I talk about the lady for a few minutes, and my words evidently pleased him, for he said, I'll tell you more. So now Cujo's about to start talking about Cujo when he was in the homie. I tell you, right? She good to me. You tell her Cujo lack please her. She good to me and Cujo lonely. They march us in the homie, and I see the house of the king. I can tell all the towns we passed to get to the place where the king got his house. But I remember we passed the place called Miko, and I just shot. We go in the city where the king got his house, and they call it Lumi, either Obomi or Kana. The house the king lived in himself, you understand me? It made out of skull bones. Maybe it not made out of skull, but it looked that way to Cujo. Oh Lord, they got the white skull bone on the stick when they come meet us, and the men would march in front of us. They got the fresh head high on the stick. All right. He said that the barracoon we in and their only slave pen at the place. They got plenty of them, but we don't know who the people in their other pens. Sometimes we holler back and forth and find out where each other come from, but each nation in the barracoon by itself, right? And he goes on and on and on, telling his story. So again, I put the link to this book, and you can go get it yourself. Is that her favorite word? I'm done. Like, what is he proving? He's not proving nothing. Oh, you said it was no sound? Hold on. Tell me. Can y'all hear that? Can y'all hear it or no? Somebody let me know something. That shit is mad low. I don't know how it's all the way up. Yeah, it's all the way up. Oh, y'all don't hear the video. Hold on. Y'all don't hear the video. What the fuck? Let me see. Let's see if we can get it back. Tell me if y'all hear it now.
I'm done. I am fucking done.
Sean, y'all here now? All right, but
This is sad.
let me go back a little bit. So he's sharing this book, Historical Sketches of the South. But what is he really trying to prove?
She wrote this book talking about Africans and anthropology and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So when you go down to it, most of the stories that Zora got, for instance, let's go to it. Hold on. Let my screen load. So most of the stories she took from this book, look, early legislation against slavery, United States, which occurred and happens and throughout the people's strength and the end slavery upheld in the South. Most of the stories from Cujo, the Clotilda story, this all comes from her.
I'm done. I am fucking done.
So do y'all notice he said all the stories we get from the Clotilda and all that comes from there? He didn't show nothing about the Clotilda in there though. I already showed y'all articles of them talking about the Clotilda before that. Showed y'all news articles like this one. Like this one. Yeah, that's even better. Where they're talking about Clotilda in 1860. Please, please. Well, they're talking about Clotilda in 1860. So how are they the origin of the story? Hey, how are they the origins of the story? She keeps just picking in here. With that, so their claim is just bullshit. Their claim has nothing to stand on. But let's see.
This is sad.
Look, all you gotta do is just go through it. It talks about everything in here. It goes through the whole story. This is where they get it from. This was a damn amateur archaeologist that was going through the South, just creating and making drawings. Look, it talked about it. In Dallas, a wish that the power prohibited the importation of slaves had not been postponed until 1808, or rather, it had been a summer. So they had already knew. All this story comes from her book. This is a little white girl who wrote this book named Emma Roche.
I'm done.
Melville.
Like, what did he prove there? Somebody help me. I'm lost too. Like, what? I see y'all don't understand what's going on either. Me neither. Like, what did he prove there? Pulling up that book, what was his point? What did that prove? And Sister Bethy's co-signing. I'm done. You didn't even show nothing. You read a little patches about the abolishment of the slave trade, but what did that prove? I'm talking mad. Why, yo? Like, what? I don't. This shit makes no fucking sense. I don't know what the book is supposed to be used for either, Sean. Right, Thurman? Just babbling. How nobody else sees this shit that's on the panel with him though? That's the shit I don't get.
Bill Herkovich paid and Franz Boas, they paid Zora and Melville Herkovich and to go down there to work that study, and they sent L. Gray Cohen and W.E.B. Du Bois north to work on the Niagara Falls movement. You know what
So you know what's crazy? That's another lie. Let's go. Let's go to when. All right. Yeah, right here. Oh, it's Emma Roche, right? Let me get this off the screen. It's Emma Roche. When does it say Emma Roche put out the historical sketches of the South? Right? I'm gonna show y'all something how bad of a lie it is. 1914, right? Do y'all know who knows when Melvin Herkovich was born? Who knows when he was born? I'm gonna show y'all. Melvin J. Herkovich was born in 1895. So you saying when he was 19, barely through school? Oh yeah, it is good. My bad, y'all. That shit is mad rude. But this shit done got cold. I gotta eat this shit. So when Melvin J. Herkovich was 19, you saying he had Emma Roche go make that historical sketches of the South? That shit don't make no sense. No sense at all. He just throwing names out there. To whose house?
What the Niagara Falls movement is?
Yeah.
No.
Hold on. I can't even get into that yet. Like, and I don't even know if I want to touch on that. But let's get into more things from the Clotilda, right? So right. So this is the wiki for Timothy Mayer, right? So in 1860, Timothy Mayer made a bet that he would be able to commission a slave voyage to Africa and back to Alabama without being caught by local officials in order to avoid the 1807 Act prohibition importation. Come on, take her. Importation of slaves. Mayer hired Captain William Foster. Remember that name's important. He hired Captain William Foster to complete the slave voyage for him aboard the Clotilda on March 3rd, 1860. And y'all know the rest, right? So we actually have something from William Foster. Let's zoom in on this. We have William Foster's own words, right? The last slaver from U.S. to Africa, 1860. Description: an account of the Clotilda by Captain William Foster. Right? I'm gonna find a couple places to read from. Let's start here. Fitted out for and again, if y'all want to read all of this, I got the link for this in the description. Like, we're not abos, we share our sources. Oh wait, yeah, we're not abos, we share our sources, right? Fitted out for the coast of Africa to purchase a cargo of slaves, cleared and sailed from Mobile March 4th with the following cargo. So another question that they always ask is, oh, what do they feed them, and like all this other just dumb questions. With the following cargo: 26 casks of rice, 80 casks of Ogden. It said that is meaning it contains 29 or 60% alcohol. It's an ingredient. Rum 30 barrels, beef 40 barrels, pork 3 barrels, sugar 25 barrels, flour 4 barrels. 25 barrels of flour, 4 barrels of bread, 4 barrels of molasses, 25 boxes dry goods and sundries, 125 casks water, and $9,000 in gold. 9 men for the mass, first and second hand mates, and myself made 12 in all on board. Right? Talked about March 7th, crossed the Mobile Bar with fair winds and made island of Cuba 3.5 days. From there to Bermuda. Right? April 22nd, arrived at Wida May 15th, anchored a half a mile from the shore. At 4 p.m., a boat boarded us the same evening to know our business. I told him I wish to exchange commodities and therefore would have to see the prince and officials. Mind you, this is from the acting captain of that boat, William Forrester. Boom, boom. So that's May 15th they landed. So again, we can't say we only get this story from Emma Roach and Zora Neale Hurston, which is not true because I showed y'all news articles talking about it. We got the testimony from the actual captain. So we can't just sit here and lie about it. Janai Knife went ashore. Gave a resident $25 for a horse and buggy to take me to Mobile. There I got a steam tug, tug to tow sooner up Spanish River into Alabama River. Arrived 12-mile inland. I transferred my slaves to a river steamboat and sent them up into Canbrake to hide them until further disposal. I then burnt my schooner to the water's edge and sunk her. Right? He's talking about burning and sinking the Clotilda on July 9th. Right? So we have the primaries. We have the documents from people that was there. What's this? Oh yeah, this is just the register to make it a historical site. If you want to look through that, you can. I'll put the description for that also in the I put that. I mean, the link for this is also in the description. We got a lot of good information in here. We don't need to really cover it, but boom. This picture of the Clotilda, you see it right here, is actually from the historical sketches from Emma Roach in 1912. Right? So again, if you want to go read through this, there's a lot of information in there. Right? It's about 49 pages long. So yeah. And let's go here real quick.
A powerful display of heritage under the Africatown Bridge this morning in honor of those aboard the last slave ship to enter the United States. We're talking about the Clotilda. It's where the Clotilda Descendants Association gathered for their landing and laying of the wreath ceremony. That's where WKRG News 5's Catherine Brooks spoke with the descendants of those who were once aboard the Clotilda.
164 years ago, the Clotilda landed in Mobile Bay. Every year, families remember the 110 enslaved Africans who were aboard the Clotilda.
This is a great opportunity for a number of descendants, local, as well as those that have traveled, to come and join and really just talk about their ancestors and share their ancestors' story.
Vernetta Hansen, descendant of Polly and Rose Allen, shared her ancestors' stories during the ceremony. She thanks her ancestors for bringing her family this far.
We thank them, and we want to mold the future for our children so that they can follow in the steps that we followed, becoming productive, God-fearing, God-loving adults.
The ceremony honored those who were on the voyage by pouring libations.
Died in the middle passage, and we said,
saying the names of those who made it and those who were lost on the way.
Takar Man, drowned at sea.
all gathered to the bay to lay the wreath in the water.
This is important because when we tell our ancestor stories, we continue the legacy. We continue a connection to our past because our past informs our future. And so we are very connected to where we come from, and we want that to keep going for generations to come.
In Africatown, Catherine Brook, WKRG News 5.
So how do you really, you know what I'm saying? With all the evidence and shit like that, how do you really deny, right? We got the descendants. We got the story from Cujo Lewis himself. We got news articles of the time that it was happening. Like, how do you really deny it? Deny it? Just like it don't make no damn sense. And you see what Sean said. Hit the like button. Like, it don't make no sense to sit there and just deny it.